Well, hello everyone. This is going to be very strange doing videos and trying to teach at the same time, but we're going to get through this. Um, I haven't corrected all your tests, and I will get to that later on this evening. So far, those that I have corrected, everybody's done very well, so good job. Hopefully that trend continues. Um, so as we go through this weird time in this world, we need to work together. I will be here and available for whatever your needs might be. Um, so I don't like videoing myself, so if I look weird, it's probably because I am looking weird. Um, but we're going to just move on to Chapter 8, Early Childhood, Biosocial Developments. And we'll get through this. So here we go. Maybe. There we go. So, when we talk about children and we're talking about body changes, um, so I'm on one of the first slides. Growth patterns. Children become slimmer. They have a lower BMI, which is body mass index, with noticeable changes in the belly, the face, and the limbs. So when we're young, 18 months, 2 years old, we're a little more pudgy. And each year from age 2 through 6, well-nourished children will add almost 3 inches in their height and gain about 4.5 pounds in weight. And also their center of gravity moves from the breast down to the belly. So when they're younger, it seems like, they're a little top heavy. That's why they're a little awkward when they're learning how to walk and run. They fall down a lot because they can't manage that difference in weight. But as they grow older, between 2 and 6, that weight tends to move downward towards their waist. Unhealthy eating contributes to what? Tell you what, too much sugar. Major problem. It's tied to many customs. United States, we have one of the highest rates of obesity because we eat a lot of sugar. We eat a lot of fat. Um, Sugar is found in sweetened cereals and drinks. It's tied to cavities, dental health. And if you don't know, dental health is a major predictor of health later on in life. If you have poor dental health as a child and as an adolescent and as a teenager, um, research does show that we can potentially have poor health outcomes overall from having poor dental health. And this is a very problematic issue. Allergies, especially this time of the year in this valley, they can be very bad. We have a lot of things blossoming right now, a lot of fruit trees. We have a lot of growth going on. 3 to 8% of preschool children have specific allergies to things like cow's milk, eggs, peanuts, tree nuts, soy, wheat, fish. It's linked to a variety of different kinds of medical conditions. The diagnostic standards for allergies do vary. Treatment also varies. Total avoidance, basically, let's say you have a peanut allergy, you just simply avoid anything with peanuts, anything that comes in contact with peanuts. Other treatments, medically supervised small increment exposure. So let's say you're allergic to peanut butter. Some doctors might try, just take a little taste, see what happens. And if there's no reaction, try a little more. But I don't recommend you just do that. Make sure it's under doctor's supervision. So, brain growth. We love talking about the brain. So again, size of the brain. By age 2, the child's brain weighs about 75% of what it will be in their adulthood. So by age 2, 75% of its completed state. Extensive sprouting and then pruning of dendrites has already taken place. So remember those initial connections, 10,000 connections per second. So by age 2, your brain's already pruning some of those, and those connections are just growing. And then by age 6, the brain reaches about 90% of adult weight. So um, between age 6 and adulthood, that's when we make up the next 10% of brain growth. So left-handedness, how many in there, how many out there are left-handed? Raise your hand. I didn't see anybody. So left-right distinction is exaggerated. This primarily occurs after injury. Both sides are involved in every single skill. So we might be dominant in our right hand, but we use our left hand. We might be dominant in the left, but we're going to still use our right hand. So both sides are involved in every single skill. The left half controls the right side, and the right side controls the left. Many cultures support only right-handedness. So if you are left-handed, there is nothing wrong with you. Stress in the brain. The relationship between stress and the brain depends on age and degree of stress. Now, we have talked about stress. We've talked about toxic stress. And that's that stress where you feel like you're walking on pins and needles constantly, always worried about what's going to happen next. That's toxic stress. But some stress aids in cognition. We need a little bit of stress to push us a little further, to go a little harder, and that's good stress. That's okay. When you guys stress over homework, that's normal stress. When you stress before a test, that's normal stress. Excessive stress hormone levels in early childhood can and may permanently damage the brain pathways. There is a possibility. Balance between arousal and reassurance is needed for optimal development. Motor skills development between 2 and 4. 2 years old, we run without falling. We climb out of the crib. It's time for that toddler bed. Walk upstairs. We feed ourselves with a spoon and we draw spirals. When we hit 3, we start to kick and throw a ball. We jump with both feet. We pedal a tricycle. We can copy simple shapes and walk downstairs, climb ladders. These kids are getting more and more curious because they're mobile. 4 years old, we can catch a beach ball, use scissors, hop on either foot. We can feed ourselves with a fork. We can dress ourselves, copy most letters, and pour liquid without spilling, and we start brushing our teeth by ourselves. So as we hit age 4, we have more independent skills. At 5 years, we skip and gallop in rhythm. We clap, bang, sing in rhythm. We can copy difficult shapes and letters. We climb trees, jump over things, use a knife to cut. We wash our face and comb our hair. When we hit 6, we draw and paint recognizable images. We write simple words. Read a page of print. We tie shoes and catch a small ball. So as we get older, our muscles, our fine motor, our gross motor skills, those muscles that are involved in those skills just become more coordinated. They become stronger. Our eyes, our vision becomes more adept, and eye-hand coordination improves as well. So setting the stage for motor development. So adults need to do these things. They need to facilitate these things. Provide a safe play space. They need to provide time for play. Appropriate equipment, that's important, and playmates. Kids need to be social. They need to be around other kids. It's going to be kind of hard right now since we're dealing with this COVID-19 situation, but here's a question for you, and I would like you to answer this in Canvas. How might increased urbanization hinder or help motor development? So increased urbanization, meaning, we're taking away more outdoor play space. How can that hinder or help motor development? Environmental hazards, things like pollutants, they harm the young. Growing brains and bodies are more than older, developed ones. So young brains are more affected than older brains. Of particular concern are urban areas. Urban areas will impact asthma and other respiratory problems. So living in areas where there's a lot of traffic, a lot of buildings, The smog from gas-fueled vehicles, causes poor air quality. And if you live in a valley like we do, um, we have Highway 99, and a lot of the pollutants from cars moves over Tulare County because of the mountains. It kind of swims up into the mountains and rotates back. Um, some of the sources of pollutants, hundreds of substances in the air, food, water that affect brain and development. Also, e-waste. We don't think about that, but e-waste as well. Fine motor skills, those are our little muscles. They're more difficult to master. They involve small hand and finger movements. They often involve both sides of the brain, and they're influenced by practice and maturation. Again, maturation is just maturing. It's practicing, and through that practice, you just are becoming more mature and able to do more complex things. Artistic expression. All forms of artistic expression tend to blossom during early childhood. It's kind of a cool thing to watch. In every artistic domain, skills gradually come with practice and maturation. There's that maturation again. Practice and maturation. Correlated with later creative drawing. So adult encouragements, it's that extrinsic motivation where you're getting motivated from outside sources. Child practice and developing technical skills. When children are first learning how to use a writing tool, they hold it like this and they scribble like that. And as they practice and mature, they eventually get to that point where they're holding it here and they're able to write like that. Cultural context and cohort differences definitely influence expression. So where we grow up, who we're growing up with, the different ethnicities, the different cultures, the different things that we celebrate help influence that artistic expression. Injuries and abuse. So accidents in all families of every income, ethnicity, and nation. Parents want to protect their children while fostering their growth. More children die from accidental or deliberate violence than any specific disease. So accidental or deliberate. So deliberate is, we're talking child abuse. So some of the avoidable injuries: falls, motor vehicle deaths, poison, fire, drownings, injury control, harm reduction. So when we think of safety, car seats, bike helmets, safety containers for medications, pool monitoring. I've evaluated many near drowning victims over the years, and their parents described them when they were young as just vibrant and playful and into everything, and they go into a pool and they're near drowning and it causes brain damage, and many times these individuals just have developmental issues for the rest of their life, cognitive and physical. Primary prevention, levels of injury prevention, primary prevention. So this would be like the very first things we do. Actions that change overall background conditions to prevent some unwanted event or circumstance, such as injury, disease, or abuse. So some things parents do, to avoid injury in the home, they'll buy those little plugs and they put them into outlets so, kids don't stick things in and get electrocuted. That's a primary prevention, right there. Putting a gate around a swimming pool with a lock that is childproof. That is primary prevention. Secondary prevention, actions that avert harm in a high-risk situation, such as stopping a car before it hits a pedestrian or installing traffic lights at dangerous intersections. Tertiary prevention, which is tertiary is third. 3, actions such as immediate and effective medical treatment that are taken after an adverse event, like an accident, illness, injury, occurs, and that are aimed at reducing the harm or preventing disability. So tertiary prevention would be, a child is abused in the home, and we remove the child from the home, place them somewhere safe. That is tertiary prevention. Child maltreatment. The term itself means intentional harm to or avoidable endangerment of anyone under 18 years of age. That's maltreatment. Child abuse is deliberate action that is harmful to a child's physical, emotional, or sexual well-being. And then child neglect is failure to meet a child's basic physical, education, or emotional needs. Substantiated maltreatment is harm or endangerment that has been reported, investigated, and verified. Reported maltreatment is harm or endangerment about which someone has notified the authorities. Warning signs. In general, delayed development, slow growth, immature communication, lack of curiosity, unusual social interactions. These are just some warning signs of somebody who has been maltreated or abused. By early childhood, fearful, they're startled by noise, defensive, quick to attack, confused between fantasy and reality. These are the symptoms of PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And then consequences of maltreatments. Effects of maltreatment are devastating and long-lasting, and the child and the community are affected. So mistreated and neglected children regard people as hostile and exploitive. They are less friendly, more aggressive, and more isolated than other children. They experience greater social deficits, and they may experience large and enduring economic consequences. So many children are diagnosed with attention deficit hyperactivity disorder in schools. Sometimes those diagnoses are incorrect. Instead of having a diagnosis of ADHD, the child could potentially be in a harmful situation at home where the child has developed that toxic stress we talked about earlier, and that toxic stress manifests itself and looks very similar to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. So it's very important for those of you who are going into nursing or teaching or those fields where you're going to see a lot of children, that you understand the signs and symptoms of child abuse and maltreatment. So 3 levels of prevention. Primary prevention is the focus on the macro system and the exosystem. So we're talking family, neighborhood, the family cohesion, decreasing financial instability, family isolation, and teenage parenthood. These would be primary ways of preventing maltreatment. Secondary prevention would be focusing on identifying and intervening. These would be kids who have an insecure attachment. And then tertiary prevention focuses on limiting harm after maltreatment. So again, it's those kids who are pulled out of a situation, and then we are providing services or programs that prevent any ongoing maltreatment. Well, that is actually all of Chapter 8. I'm going to post this video in discussions, and you'll be able to look at the PowerPoints as well. And I want you to answer that question that I brought up earlier at one of the first 10 slides in there. And what I want you to do is in discussions, just ask me any questions you might have. I will get back to you, and we will just keep motoring forward. Again, this is really strange. I'm sitting in my grandkids, one of the grandkids' bedroom. The walls are pink. There's pretty flowers on the bed, and this is my grandson's room. He loves it because it's pretty. Anyway, so this is Professor Cox. I am going to end this video and end your misery, at least for today. And don't forget to answer questions and ask questions. And I want to make sure you guys understand this information. And since I can't ask you live, I need you to ask questions and I'll get back to you. I promise. Good night.